We are the Ministry of the Real Truth, and we found this video online in the public domain, public access, and there's the verification there. So we shouldn't get a copyright claim, strike, or notice of copyright infringement or infringement. It was not intentional, and we bring it to all for educational purposes alone, to make people aware of the baloney that's out there, being spread out there. Okay, and we'll listen to this. We've actually added a review as well below, which is quite lengthy, to hear what this particular man or narrator has to say, and we'll ad-lib where necessary.
The Jews are actually the Canaanites, who were known as Edomites, across the river and up in the mountains of Mount Seir. And they didn't become, quote, Israelites until 125 BC.
Okay, so reflecting on what this guy said, the Jews are actually the Canaanites. Okay, according to the original ancient Tav Asherit, Lishana Artika Saprea, Tav Asherit is a script, but the language it's all translated from into the nearest English equivalent is the Lishana Artika Saprea, which is sacred scribal language of God, spoken by God to Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and that the men at the Tower of Babel supposedly spoke one to each other, right, or one to another. So this guy says that the Jews are the Canaanites, yet the scriptures say that they could be related to them, right? So in a sense you could say that these are descendants of these Hebrews, the Awer and the Chaldeans, when Abraham finally entered into the promised land, promised by God, the land of milk and honey or abundance. They noticed that there was, and it's also written in the Brita or Genesis, that it was full of the Jebusites, the Hittites, the whateverites, and the Canaanites. They occupied that land at the time. So these people were Hebrew Chaldeans, not Canaanites. But they spent quite a long time there, had descendants, so it's like they were the citizens of Canaan, right? And they probably eventually took over it, drove these people out. It doesn't really specify that in Genesis. Maybe further on, they were the Israelites. Maybe later on came and invaded it and kicked all these people out, because God chose it as a holy land for them, where they had to come under His jurisdiction, you could say, under His laws, His commands, become a holy nation, so that be an example for the non-Jews, okay, who they would tell about God later on, according to the scriptures. Okay, so this guy is not quite accurate, okay, in his information. So we carry on, listen to him.
When the last real king of Judah and high priest defeated them in Idumea, incredibly unlike David in 1000 BC, he told them, be circumcised or die. So all those Jews decided to join the Israelite religion in 125 BC. They wrote none of the Bible.
Okay, that's what he says. He says they didn't write any of the Bible. Okay? None of them. And yet it's a Jewish text, isn't it? Think about that one. None of them wrote it, he said. Yet it's a Jewish text. Crazy.
There was no such thing as a Jewish prophet, ever. Daniel was not a Jew. Jeremiah was not a Jew. Esther was not a Jew.
What a load of rubbish. Because when she was in Persia, and that Haman was trying hard to persecute the Jews, eliminate them, etc., she pretended to be a Persian, and that King Xerxes, or whatever his real name is in the Persian. He had a fancy for her, okay? And he's spending time with her, all that sort of stuff. I don't know if he married her or whatever, according to the scriptures, in relation to the scriptures, but she had an uncle called Mordecai, etc., etc., and yeah, she basically pretended to be Persian. She hid her Jewishness. Check out the scriptures on Esther. There was also a film with a very famous British actor. He might have been one of the dwarves on Lord of the Rings. Very mouthy one. I can't remember his name, but he's a really good actor. I think he played. No, that's a different guy. That's Bob Hoskins. This is this guy's he's a really good actor. I think he was on Danny the Dog with Jet Li, and maybe that was Bob Hoskins. Can't remember, but yeah, he's a very, very famous actor. They're getting the actors confused because they look the same. I think his name's Brian Blessed. Yeah, really good actor. So yeah, this guy's information is flawed. Okay, so let's have a listen to more of his so-called information.
All of these people were Israelites, and we Israelites were captured by the Assyrians. And
okay, so he's saying we Israelites, meaning that he's an Israelite. Okay, he can't be an Israelite because all the Israelites are black, according to the US Black Hebrew Israelites. So what's going on? But yeah, it's just making you aware of what they would say, right? Against this guy saying, "Oh, he's an Israelite." Yeah. Okay, he's making a claim that he's an Israelite, and there's a key to that, to why he's saying that.
745 BC, and taken in captivity, and escaped there and went up to the Caucasus Mountains through the pass of Israel, and came out on the other side, known as Caucasians. We went into the wilderness of Europe and founded the many nations for our father Abraham. And of course, hundreds of years later, after our captivity in Babylon, which the Jews had nothing to do with except to help the Babylonians capture us in 586 BC when they came and besieged Jerusalem.
So that's where you got to do your research to find out if this is actually true, because it sounds like a lot of baloney. Okay.
And so the Babylonians hauled us off to captivity, at least the last two tribes of Judah and Benjamin, to Babylon for 70 years of captivity as punishment for our sins. And it was at that time, when the Babylonians had surrounded the city of Jerusalem, that our prophet, not a Jewish prophet, our Israelite prophet, Jeremiah, got some guys together and carted the Ark of the Covenant into his cave. Well, what Jeremiah didn't know was that his cave was directly under where the cross of Christ would go 500 years later. And that when the earthquake split the rock under the cross, Christ's blood would drip down and sprinkle the most holy, the Ark of the Covenant, the lid of the Ark of the Covenant.
Okay, there's also that claim by Ron Wyatt. Him and his son apparently went underneath. They found the location. They're looking over Israel to the Golgotha or something like that. Then they suddenly had this. He had this revelation. So he went there and he found where the cross had been erected, and he dug underneath. Apparently, and he found a seat and also maybe the Ark of the Covenant, something like that. We pretty much know that he, on his video, said that he found the seat. And the blood had dripped onto it and all this sort of stuff, and he got a DNA tested and it says, hey, it's missing an element. Not too hot on the DNA thing, chromosomes. There's a X, but it's missing the Y, something like that, right? And it was living blood and all this sort of stuff, and he made these claims, oh, it's Jesus' blood and all this, right? But apparently in that video, his documentary, his son debunked him. Says, he made up a lot of crap years later, after his father's death, apparently. Anyway, so he made all these bold claims. Okay, this is what this guy is saying, but he's probably trying to add that the Ark of the Covenant was under there. Yeah, when Ron found it or something. No, I don't think he's saying that. It's just, yeah. You're saying the Ark of the Covenant was taken into a cave, all this stuff. We're going to listen to some more. Well, you just realise that this guy's information is totally flawed, you know.
It was the atonement for us Israelites, because Yahweh only had a contract with us and nobody else.
Okay, here we go. So he's using the name Yahweh, supposedly, which is a pagan god, okay, Canaanite god or something like that. You have to go do your research on that. There's plenty of videos out there from experts. There's a Greek lady expert and all of that, and she details where this Yahweh God originated from.
And that's why Jesus told his disciples to go only to the lost house of Israel. And he told them that that's why he talked in parables, because those Jews who had just recently joined the Israelite religion in 125 BC had no need to know any of this.
Okay, this is this guy's claims, okay. We shouldn't get a copyright strike on the basis that, you know, this is about anti-Jew, anti-Semite, all that. It's not what we are saying, it's what the guy in the video is claiming. We're just doing a review on it, okay? So please don't give us a copyright claim, copyright strike that we're being anti-Semitic. It's what this guy is saying, not us, the Ministry of the Real Truth. We are just relaying through this video review what this guy claims.
And so he made it somewhat obscure when he said things. And this is why he told his disciples that he had only come for the lost house of Israel. And if you'll...
Which is true. He first came to the house of Israel because they were the chosen of God. Okay, but they had been led astray by the Pharisees, who they were like the guardians, the chosen ones, guardians of the Mosaic text, the laws, teach the people, etc., etc. But they became greedy, pompous, power mad, puffed up, had big egos, all this sort of stuff, right? And that's why John the Baptist pointed out to them, you vipers, you snakes, who told you about salvation, and all this sort of stuff. And then the Christ was, pointed out to them, you snakes, you vipers, etc., etc., right? You're like holy on the outside, you're clean and all that sort of stuff, looking, look righteous, pure and all that sort of stuff, but inwardly you're you're of the devil and all this sort of stuff. He pointed them out. And that's why they detested him, because they were exposing him. They were like exposing them. Like they had this power over the people, being power mad, had authority, etc., etc., like that. But it got to their head. Okay? So like, if we say this against him, then people might turn on us, and all this sort of thing, So they had to get him out of the way. He was a threat to their power status. So let's listen to this guy some more.
Read the beginning of the book of James, you'll see that he addresses his book only to the house of Israel scattered abroad. And
because the house of Israel, or Israelites, rejected him as the Messiah, the Son of God, etc., the Pharisees, the scribes, the elders, and the people, then he said, okay, after his death and resurrection, before his ascension to the kingdom of God, to sit at the right hand of the Father, his rightful place, he said, well, go to the non-Jews, the Gentiles, the foreigners, other lands. Here you go, here's a bunch of straws, choose where you're going to go, right? And whatever straw you come up with, you get allocated to go there. Thomas didn't want to go to India, but he drew the short straw. He got India. He said, oh damn, I didn't want to go there, but seeing as my Lord and Master said I have to go there, well, I'm obliged to go there. So off he went, and he did wonderful there until his martyrdom. And then his followers went on to China. They were welcomed there, Japan. Then they spread this gospel far and wide.
graphics that will help you understand that we Anglo-Saxons are the real Israelites.
There you go. He just gave it away. He is of Christian identity with that British Israel cult faction, right? That they're the true Israelites, nobody else. Not the Jews, not the Hebrews, nobody else. Not the US black Hebrew Israelites. Okay. They are. Okay? Anglo-Saxon, pure race supremacist Christian identity cult members. This is probably one of those leaders. Who, one of them was actually exposed as being Jewish. Go figure. One of their top leaders, spokesmen, maybe this guy was found to be Jewish or of Jewish descent, which was probably obvious because of his last name anyway. It was something like Stein or something like that. We're not too sure exactly what the guy's name was. We can't recall it, but yeah, he was exposed as a Jew, descendant of Jews.
And the Jewish people are the Edomites, who were forced to join the Israelite religion when John and Cranus II defeated them in Idumea. And of course, Idumea is just Greek for Edom. If you look on your Bible maps, you'll see that Edom was there quite a while back in the time of David, and you can read about how David went over and slaughtered Edomites for 6 months in 1 Kings chapter 11. And that was when God sent David to kill off the Jews. But Hadad, the prince of Edom, got away and fled to Egypt, where he grew up and married an Egyptian wife and came back to Edom later.
Okay, you have to check the scriptures to see if this guy's actually right. Okay, correct in what he said. You probably noticed that there's music playing in the background, and usually you get a copyright claim or a strike or notice of infringement. It's not our fault. Okay, if it's in the public domain, public access, and the music is included in the background, then that's the issue which should be taken up with the people who made the video, not us. We shouldn't be the ones getting the notices or strikes or whatever for that being played in the background. Probably it's being played in the background so you will get done for breach of copyright, okay? Because of the music as well as this video. But is the Creative Commons license, okay, and that involves fair use. You know, you can use this video to put on your own social chat site or video site, whatever, without any problems. Okay, so let's carry on with this guy some more.
Which is how the Edomites wound up helping the Assyrians capture us, and then helping the Babylonians capture us in 586 BC. And
is that correct though? Because the Babylonians apparently came in and took the Jews captive, slaves, okay, or the Israelites, and then the Jews or Israelites that the Babylonians came in and took into captivity, and then somebody else took was it the Assyrians? One of those two took the Judeans captive into captivity, etc. And then someone came along, like the king of Persia, and rescued them from Babylonia because they weren't allowed to do their religious practices, their customs, their traditions, all that sort of stuff. And so they're very upset, and they're sitting near the rivers of Babylon, weeping and all that sort of stuff. And then God made this king Cyrus like a Messiah. And it doesn't mean it's the same. He's on the same level as Jesus. Actually, in the original ancient Old Testament, I can't remember which book it is now. He actually is speaking to Yeshua Mashiach, or Jesus the Messiah, and saying, I'm going to elect this king Cyrus of Persia as a type of Messiah. He wasn't saying he is the Messiah, okay, because that's reserved for the Son of God, isn't it? Okay, so he's not saying he's going to be the Messiah. He's just like a deliverer, right? He's like a Christ. Okay, he's anointed by me to do this work for me, right? To go and free those people, my people, from Babylonian captivity. So he did that, and then he said, you're free here in Persia to do your religious practices. Go for it. And if you want to go back to Jerusalem and rebuild your temple that was destroyed, well, we'll finance you with that. We'll give you all the tools and all that sort of stuff. You can go back and do it. And some of the Jews did, but others didn't. Okay, let's continue with this guy.
As you'll see as you study the Bible and look at these interesting charts, the Jews don't even own Hanukkah or Passover. In John 8:33, the Jews tell Jesus that they'd never been in bondage by any man. You can look up that verse and see for yourself that they admit they've never been in bondage. Well, if they were never in bondage, that means they certainly weren't in Egypt as slaves, and they weren't in Babylon as slaves. So the bell begins to ring when you realize that these people are the world's greatest liars. And
Ting-a-ling-a-ling, this is according to this guy, right? Okay, he's anti-Semitic. Yeah, he's got a problem with them. We don't have a problem with them. Okay, so that's enough of that guy. Here's our review here, and we basically put, because some people made some silly ass comments, total nonsense, that we realised that this guy was from Christian identity as soon as he opened his mouth and said, we Anglo-Saxons, we Israelites, etc., etc. But he wasn't like saying we are supremacists, we are the only race, we are the chosen, all this sort of stuff, right? He was hinting at it, but he didn't openly say, beasts of the field and all this sort of stuff. Okay, so we realised as soon as he opened his mouth that he was into this British Israel Christian identity movement, probably one of the leaders of it, spokesmen. And then we found this woman had added this comment below, all these comments below, and they're totally bogus. They were just total rubbish, right? The information was rubbish. Okay, we verified her information and it's very incorrect. Her claims involve several interconnected assertions about biblical identity, prophecy and interpretation. We're not too sure, we're not going to say she's a Christian identity member because we don't know. Each element reflects a specific theological and historical perspective. So let's break down these claims to assess their accuracy and context. 1. She made a claim that Edomites and Canaanites, Esau. The Bible identifies the Edomites as descendants of Esau, Jacob's brother, Genesis 25:30, Obadiah 1:10. This is a widely accepted view in biblical scholarship. Canaanites and racial identity. The claim that the black man is Canaan is a controversial and problematic assertion. In biblical times, Canaanites were one of several groups in the ancient Near East, but racial categorizations in the modern sense don't directly map onto all ancient identities. Additionally, modern interpretations often caution against using racial categories to describe ancient peoples. So if you look at the book of Genesis, you had Noah coming out of the ark with his 3 sons, who then their wives had sons, possibly daughters, and one of them was named, one of the sons was named Ham, came out of the ark, and then he had a son called Canaan, and then he had descendants, and then eventually they migrated, because that's what they do. I was sick of these old guys. Let's go do our own thing. Let's spread out, right? So they went to this other land. Okay. Probably the move by Abraham's, the Hebrews, the Awars, who crossed over a certain river and went into another land that was promised by Abraham. Promised to Abraham by God. Yeah. So these Hebrews and Chaldeans because Abraham was born in Ur of Chaldea, or Chaldea, Mesopotamia. Eventually crossed over and went into this land, and they dwelt there. And as the Bible genealogy list says, there was the Jebusites, Hittites, lots of other Hittites, and the Canaanites. So they went there, they did their thing while living amongst these people, and they had descendants who had descendants, etc. And supposedly they ended up embracing their pagan gods like El, Baal, etc. And then eventually the Egyptians invaded it, and it was part of their region, and they had forts up there and all this sort of stuff to report of any invading hordes, right? Because it was getting like attacked by the Hittites, etc. Okay, so the claim that the black man is Canaan, because it's the son of Ham, right? Or Cam, Kham, but it's pronounced as Ham, both in the Aramaic and the Egyptian. The K is silent, so it's Ham. So they're not actually Kemites, as they spell it, Khemits. They're Hamites. Hamites. But there was an ancient name given to Egypt, certain people in Egypt, and they're called Kamit. Kamit, or Kemet. In biblical times, Canaanites were one of several groups in the ancient Near East, but racial categorizations in the modern sense don't directly map onto ancient identities. Additionally, modern interpretations are often caution against using racial categories to describe ancient peoples. 2. Circumcision and scriptural interpretation, because this woman in a comment said that the Israelites never used circumcision, they never performed it, right? Which is total bogus. Okay, so 2. Circumcision and scriptural interpretation. Circumcision. Circumcision is a significant practice in Judaism commanded in the Torah, Genesis 17:10-14. The assertion, this is what she said, that it was of the devil, that circumcision is of the devil and associated with Edom, is a highly unorthodox view and does not align with mainstream Jewish or Christian interpretations. The practice of circumcision is deeply rooted in Jewish law and tradition. Jewish law, okay? John 7:20-24. This passage records Jesus' critique of religious leaders for their hypocrisy and misinterpretation of the law. The context is important. Jesus is criticizing superficial or incorrect interpretations of the law, not condemning circumcision itself. Okay. 3. Esau's birthright and prophetic text. Esau's birthright. The story of Esau selling his birthright to Jacob is found in Genesis 25:29-34. Prophetic texts like Obadiah and Ezekiel 35 address the Edomites' actions and their consequences, often focusing on their hostility towards Israel. 4. Disciples, Assyrian captivity, and Messiah's birth. Disciples' origin and captivity. The claim that the disciples were from Assyrian captivity and moved to Bethlehem for the Messiah's birth does not align with historical or biblical evidence. So this lady is again in error. This commentator was in error. The disciples were primarily Galilean Jews, and that's what we covered in one of our earlier videos. They were Galilean fishermen under that Jewish Mosaic law, etc., all those customs, traditions, and so forth. They willingly did that. And there's no historical basis for identifying Germany as ancient Assyria in the biblical context, because you try to say that Germany was Assyria, or Assyria was Germany, and we're thinking, well, that's stupid, because Germany's way over there, right, and Assyria's way over there, so how could be Assyria in Mesopotamia, etc., that area, be Germany? Okay, so that's kind of weird. Total error. Okay, so again, the claim that the disciples were from Assyrian captivity and moved to Bethlehem for the Messiah's birth does not align with historical or biblical evidence. The disciples were primarily Galilean Jews, because they're Galilean fishermen, etc., spoke that language, Galilean Aramaic, or Galilean, and there's no historical basis for identifying Germany as ancient Assyria in the biblical context. So that woman's in total error. Prophetic fulfillment. While the two sticks in Ezekiel 37 symbolise the reunification of Israel and Judah, because they had a bit of a thing between them, right? Like, the Israelites, along with King Rezin of Aram, fought against they invaded a town of the tribe of Judah, and then they basically had it for centuries, according to the Bible. So Israel attacked Judah, or these men of Judah. Prophetic fulfillment. With the two sticks in Ezekiel 37, while the two sticks in Ezekiel 37 symbolise the reunification of Israel and Judah, interpreting this as a reference to Jesus joining these sticks is a theological interpretation. Isaiah 11:11-12 speaks of the future gathering of Israel's scattered people. So it's a prophetic, it's a prophecy of the future when there will be a gathering of Israel's scattered people, which some Christian interpretations see as fulfilled in the New Testament. 5. Messiah and disciples' identity. Messiah and Galilean identity. Jesus and his disciples were indeed Galileans. This identification of all of them as from Ephraim or other specific tribal origins is a matter of theological interpretation rather than clear historical fact. Summary. The claims presented reflect a particularly theological and interpretive framework that incorporates both traditional biblical narratives and specific interpretive lenses. This is the commentators' comments, right? Spiel. However, historical and racial context. Modern racial categories do not directly apply to ancient peoples, and the claim about Canaanites and racial identity is problematic and lacks scholarly support. Biblical interpretation. Many of the interpretations, such as circumcision being of the devil and the linkage of Assyria with Germany, are not supported by mainstream historical or biblical scholarship. Prophetic fulfillment. The connections made between Old Testament prophecies and New Testament events are interpretations that vary widely among scholars and religious traditions. In summary, while the claims draw on biblical texts made by this lady, they represent specific interpretations that are not universally accepted and should be considered within the broader context of biblical scholarship and historical understanding. Was Assyria in Germany ever? No, Assyria was not in Germany, as this lady, this commentator, claimed. Assyria was an ancient Mesopotamian empire located in the region that is now in northern Iraq, northeastern Syria, and parts of Turkey and Iran. It was one of the major civilizations of the ancient Near East, known for its military conquests and significant contributions to culture and administration. Key points about Assyria. Geographical location. Assyria's territory. The heartland of the Assyrian Empire was in northern Mesopotamia. Key cities included Ashur, Nineveh, and Calah, Nimrud. This region is in the modern-day areas of Iraq and parts of neighbouring countries. Historical context. Assyrian Empire. Assyria was a dominant power from the early 25th century BCE until its fall in 612 BCE. It was known for its powerful military, advanced administrative system, and extensive library at Nineveh, unearthed by Henry Austin Layard and his friend Rosmuz, something like that, Muslim. Modern misinterpretation, misidentifications. The idea that Assyria was in Germany is a modern misinterpretation or conflation. Germany and the reign of ancient Assyria are geographically and historically unrelated. Ancient Assyria was situated far to the east of Europe, while Germany is located in Western Europe. Well, that's pretty dumb, isn't it? Yeah? If you think Assyria was Germany, because look at the location on the map, nowhere near each other. miles away from each other. Biblical reference and prophetic interpretations, biblical Assyria and biblical context. Assyria is often associated with the regions of the peoples as the regions and peoples of the Near East, particularly in relation to Israel and Judah. Assyrian captivity refers to the period when the Assyrians conquered the northern kingdom of Israel and deported the people. Summary. The assertion that Assyria was located in Germany is incorrect and reflects a misunderstanding of historical geography. Assyria was an ancient empire centered in the Near East, while Germany is situated in Western Europe. There is no historical or geographical basis for connecting ancient Assyria with Germany. So there's our video presentation on this man's claims, Anglo-Saxon, British Israel fan, Christian identity leader probably. It doesn't give his name here, and incorrect information by one of the commentators below the video. Okay, this is our first long length one on this particular website, so it's basically hidden the rest of them. Okay, there's only this other one here, and didn't know what he was on. We just put this website here as far as you can see. There's probably some other comment, but it just got blotted out because of our extra long comment. Okay, so if you found this video interesting, give us a like, subscribe to our channel, add your comments below, and then go share this video with all your family, friends and others. Okay, so again we stress, we found this in a public access, public domain. It's covered by the copyright Creative Commons licenses here. Maybe out of date because they're up to like 4.0 or something now, but it still stands, I guess. Yeah, and the music in the background was in the background of that video. So if there's any issues there, it should be, the people that make a copyright claim should realise it was included in there, and plus it's in the public domain, public access, freely available, has this license, and what can you do, right? Okay, yeah, so as we said, if you enjoyed this video, found it interesting, eye-opening, then give us a like, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any more of our really exciting, great videos. They're fantastic. And then go share it with all your family, friends and others, so they're aware of these types who talk a lot of baloney, and then they convince their listeners that it's all true.